the internet loves polarity. This is
Hmm.
why, with all the stuff that's happening, with like, all the political news, like every side is triggered because of that polarity of young, old, left, right, rich,
Hmm.
poor. This is how the internet works. That in mind, we're always like, well, how can we create polarity in the feed where it's like, well, this is what you paid before, this is what you paid after. So it's like we have price motivators, we have convenience motivators, and we have selection motivators.
Welcome to Taste and Tactics, where founders and go-to-market leaders share how they brought their boldest ideas to life. From concept to execution, we cover every step behind these iconic launches. Join me each week for both inspiration and actionable tips. I'm Shreya Navadia. Let's dive in. Hey, thank you so much, Chino, for being here. Really excited to have you on the podcast. We've known each other for a little while through like On Deck and some other stuff. And so excited to get like this like mobile marketing master here because you have a lot of experience in different channels of marketing and growth hacking. So let's talk a little bit about what you did and your previous startup, Keyring.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's good to see you just over the years, and I really appreciate you showing up time and time again. So the startup was called Keyring, and it was a bundle of video streaming services. Think of it like online cable. And now I'm in energy, which is a bit of a different world, but the overlap is consumer subscriptions. So I know a lot about that. I think about that all day. And yeah, super happy to be here and share all my secrets of mobile marketing or all marketing because I'm no longer in mobile specifically. I'm happy to share all the secrets we had, especially with my first stint as a founder and CEO of an app publishing company, my second stint as a founder of Keyring, which is a bundle of video streaming services.
Awesome. Okay. Tell us more about kind of the story behind Keyring, the insight that led to you starting it.
Yeah. So after I sold my first company, I skied for 2 months and just like could not take it, and just like decided like I'll build till I'm like 90. And I had noticed that myself and all my friends, we talk about Netflix shows and Hulu shows and the different streaming services content, but none of us were paying for it. We were all on someone else's account. I was on my ex-girlfriend's brother's, girlfriend's account from 2 years prior. And people talk about innovation and in Silicon Valley and these innovation circles, they talk about in the lens primarily through Peter Thiel's view, which is first principles thinking. I tend to resonate more with Ray Dalio's thinking, which is that markets are cyclical and that everything is a version of something that came before it, just with different timing. I'm old enough and young enough where I lived through LimeWire, where you illegally download music. And the question that I learned through analogies, I teach through analogies, is what got the world from downloading music illegally on LimeWire to Spotify? And
Mm.
the answer is a bundle, great UX and a great product, and a bit of luck. And I'm like, well, the streaming services can't be happy that everyone's stealing. And so we figured out a way to, this is like NBA speak, like price discriminate getting people from not paying for anything with password sharing of these different streaming services to paying for something in the form of a bundle, which is what we offered.
And how inexpensive was it? Like, how did it compare to getting the streaming services individually?
Yeah, so we bundled 4 to 6 different streaming services. The most expensive one in there was Fubo TV, which I think at the time was $49 to $79 a month.
Oh, wow.
And the insight was like, well, let's get services that have complementary content that people love and bundle those. At the time, streaming services were maybe $10 to $18 a month, maybe $14 a month without ads. And now the streaming services have ads. And the kind of napkin math was, well, I can get 4 to 6 streaming services, which would have cost me $60 to $90, maybe up to 110 with the soccer one in there, or I can get Keyring for $39.99 a month. Oh, and they have this deal, which is like if you pay for a year up front, it's XYZ dollars. And we tested a bunch of pricing models and eventually landed on 2.
Well, that's cool. So that's how you did the arbitrage and still were profitable. It was that you bought annual subscriptions and then like dripped them out and charged people monthly.
Yeah.
But on your side, yeah, we're getting
So
annual.
there's
That's awesome.
there's a version of this on the market now called Split, Spliit, and they did what we did, and I have a lot of respect for them. they would put people in family accounts, and that's
Mm,
where like the space and the arbitrage came into play.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about some really cool video marketing that you did, both like ads and organic. And so, who are your customers? Like, who are you trying to reach? I assume maybe like young people who were more price sensitive, but like, what were the different demographic groups and how did you decide on that?
Yeah. More surprisingly, it was older people who were used to cable.
Mm,
They really liked, the sea of content in cable, but the consumer behavior had changed. Or searching something or seeing something in an algorithm and doing it and watching it on demand was the new behavior.
hmm.
And before they're paying like 120 a month or 110 a month for Dish, and obviously it didn't have as much content and on demand features as like the streaming services. So that was about half of our customers. Another 25% were like later millennials who were like just building their lives and kind of price sensitive. A unique positioning of the product was it was only on laptop.
Hmm.
We built the company through COVID, and the primary viewing device of these customers like was their laptop, on the bed or in the bath or whenever one was home the whole time.
Not like on their TV, like literally
Not
just
like
the
on their
people
TV,
just like
and
chilling on your laptop. Yeah.
in terms of the three devices, you have your mobile, your laptop, and your TV. Well, mobile takes 30%. So like I don't want to sell you a subscription on
Hmm.
the app stores because at the time they take 30%. You can't type on TV. So for like card information or password or email, you can type, but it's just like bad UX. So the smoothest UX to get people onto these streaming services was like the laptop or PC computer.
Totally. Okay, so how did you decide to experiment with video, which we're going to talk about in depth? And to set the scene, this was like 2017, 2021.
Yeah.
What were like the waves of video? How did you decide which platforms to be on and why video?
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it a, a step back a little bit. Who told me this? I met him through On Deck. It was Gleb. He's co-founder of Authy, which is like this 2FA tool. And something really, really pithy that he said to me is like, you want to nail it and scale it. And I never forgot that. He must have told me that in Miami in 2021. Um, but I say that in retrospect now because we spent a lot of time nailing the product. We didn't, if you look at our articles, we weren't just a bundle of streaming services before. We were like a password sharing tool. And we were a tool to like put together what we call the custom bundle, where you have Hulu and I have Netflix and someone else has Showtime. We come together, share the passwords, and then like create this new bundle. That was all very complex. And then kind of the big pivot was when one of my teammates had said, "Hey man, we're executing on the roadmap. We have good culture on the team. It seems like we're heading in the right direction, but our last 3 or 4 product launches like failed. Like,
Mm,
what can we do about this?" And like, you're right. You're right. Like, I think when you're in, founder mode, you get super excited about direction. You get swept up into your own excitement.
hmm.
And we took a step back and I had maybe like 20 UX interviews on my calendar. And I go, well, I'm going to spend 22 of these minutes doing the UX interview and the last 8 minutes selling. And we hadn't been built payments or anything in the product yet. So I just asked these people, what is this is from the book, Pricing Innovation.
Hmm.
The three killer questions are, what is an acceptable price for this? What is a steal price for this? And what is an outrageous price for this?
Hmm.
And the way I was inspired by Steve Jobs. I remember when he like launched the iPad or the iPhone. He's like, "Oh, it's $1,000 in the first slide," and right after he's like, "Oh, actually, it's $499 or something like this." And so like it's a beautiful storytelling tactic where you say, "Well, what's an outrageous price for this?" Okay, what if it was this much? Oh, I love
Hmm.
that. Okay,
Hmm.
Venmo me right now, and I just shut the fuck up. I'm like, and so and then I got to go to my team and said, "Look, I think we've nailed something because out of 20, I closed 18." That, and my closing statement was like, "Okay, well, can you Venmo me 40 right now? And if we don't get it to you in a week or so, I'll just send it right back." We know the same. We know very very similar people, so you can just like tell all of our friends and like scam me for $40 if it doesn't work out. And so I gave them a lot of safety to do it. And I got back to my team saying, "Look, we have 18 or so pre-orders. I think we might be onto something in this specific direction. But your question was more about like the scaling part of it. So that I just talked about the mailing part of it.
Mhm.
And then as soon as we got to the scaling part of it, then we started testing different channels.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, okay, so setting the scene, like this was a little bit of you did a product pivot. So
Yeah.
when did you do the pivot? And then like what kinds of acquisition channels were you running maybe pre-pivot or right then?
Yeah.
When did you move into video and why? Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember when we did the pivot, like specifically. It was more like, we just tried everything that could make the product the best version of itself it could be. And if that didn't take, we just really moved on.
Totally.
But, I was really inspired by, I saw a screenshot. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be shared with me, but this direct consumer, I'll be broad, pet company. And it had a breakdown of all the channels: Facebook, Google, Snap, direct mail, blah, 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 like 14 channels and the exact unit economics per the channel. I started where, I was unsurprised, but I started where like the best unit economics were, and that was Facebook and Google. And we started testing. We started with ads, video ads, and we essentially got to a pace where we'd test maybe like 20 to 30 creatives a month. Something they say is like creative is king, and wherever converted the best, we kind of ran with. But now in hindsight, I'm like, well, I don't think I ever want to build a business again that's kind of like dependent on ads, which is maybe a different story.
How did you produce that many different categories? And like, I mean, a lot of work, a lot of work to make them like
Yeah.
really well done and like film and edit and every step of the way.
Yeah, the premise is about half right. So they don't have to be well done. Like we all know, we've all doom scrolled through a lot of trash online. And in my previous life, we made like 160 apps. People are like, "Oh my God, so many apps." But I'm like, guys, templates. If you just
Mhm.
create a template in the video maker where like the first 3 seconds are the same, and then you swap out the next part of the hook, which is the 4 seconds, 7-second hook. You had to test a lot of creatives. And we didn't overthink it too, because like what was happening at the time in the insight, I think this is from Gary Vee's team. He's like, consumers get this stench from high production value
Mm.
creatives, where it's like
Mhm.
we're scrolling all day through like memes and trash and low quality videos,
Like
and
people in their bedroom just like filming
yeah,
themselves
just
doing
people
like a
talking.
dance or
And
like,
as
yeah,
soon as you
whatever
see that
talking.
frame rate jump where you're like, oh, that's high quality, skip it ad.
Because it's clearly an ad at the first like
Yeah.
half second versus you're like, is this another video? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of like being like a spy for your attention. Like you're like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh my God, it's an ad like on TikTok. You see like the little ad like logo, and they're pretty good about it. But like you don't want it to be super, super, super high quality.
Hmm.
But yeah, what's most important, and this is not new information, Mr. Beast will not shut up about this. It's really about the hook, like the first two, like 1.5 to 5 to 7 seconds of a video.
Totally. Okay, so we talked about like we're gonna talk about Facebook and TikTok, very different techniques for the two platforms because they
Yeah.
work very differently. So tell us more
Yeah.
about what you did on Facebook and what worked or didn't work.
Yeah. In my experience, I'd push back on that a little bit, because what we're actually talking about is vertical video.
Mm,
Whether you put it on TikTok or Pinterest or Instagram, it's still like the same creative.
hmm.
And then you're still testing the same amount of throughput to see what converts.
Totally. Okay.
And so that's the way we thought about it. Like our effort will be the same on every video. And it's our job to find like where the arbitrage is and like what platforms. And so, what worked really well, what we thought about a lot is like, well, ads are just testing, like buying attention, correct? And so if you want more attention on an ad, you spend more money. But you can kind of cheat a little bit. What I mean by that is you can look in the category. So for us, it was movies and TV shows. And you can look at the roster of, maybe there's not going to be more than like 20 creators that have a line share, like over 60% of the attention in the
Mm,
category. So we look at the formats of these creators in their organic posts, and we go, well, that would work. That has the most views. That has a lot of views. This has a lot of comments. We just looked at engagement, like whatever has the most engagement, and I kind of tried to reverse engineer that with our ads. But if our ads this is parallel path. I always have many irons in the fire. That's what we did on the ad side. And on the organic plus ad side, there's something called white labeling, where if you're a creator and I like your video, I can essentially put ad spend behind your video, but with my call to action.
Mm.
So if you're talking about House of Cards, we know that House of Cards is on Netflix. But the copy would say, you can get maybe 5 streaming services for the price of 2 or 3, and we get to put our link or our call to action on the video.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset was like, well, this video is already de-risked. We know the market likes what they're talking about already. It's within earshot of our value prop. So that was really helpful to think about. So the hook de-risked content through organic. And then last would be creators. We had creators create a couple videos for us that did marginally well, but like the point was getting like the tests up and running. It wasn't about like, we're going to put all the eggs in this basket of this one creator making this one video.
Totally. Okay, so when you white labeled, did you need permission or did you just do it?
Well, we always told them what we were going to do. Like,
Okay.
essentially what happens is, the world's really small, and like you don't want bad will within the creators. Like this brand doesn't do things above board, and so we always just told them. The smarter, more savvy ones would ask for a cut of the conversion, and we're just like, we can't afford that. Like,
Mm,
thank you, but no thank you. So we always told them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so those were people where you were like white labeling the videos, but was it often the same person where you asked them to create ads and do like actually sponsored content, or was it like separate?
It was always a bunch of different people. I mean,
Mm.
like going back to creative is king, we had kind of like a maybe late 20s guy, younger 20s Canadian guy, could hear it in his voice. We had like an early 30s black dude who would talk about XYZ content. And so it was always like a slot machine, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of these may hit and perform well, but if not, like it was a low cost test anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know you experimented with some different content that was focused on price or focused on categories
Yeah.
of like shows. So how did those work? What were some things that like worked really well and didn't?
Yeah, there was a fun tactic. So the internet loves polarity. This is
Mm-hmm.
why with all the stuff that's happening, with like, all the political news, like every side is triggered because of that polarity of young, old, left, right, rich,
Mm-hmm.
poor. This is how the internet works. And so you'll see in even Mr. Beast video on the organic side, you'll see like a $10 burger versus a $1,000 burger, or a $10,000 vacation versus like $1 million vacation. Whatever
Yeah. It's not
the
it's not just like a $10 burger versus a $20 burger. It's not as
correct.
like enticing or shocking.
Correct. And so like with
Yeah.
that in mind, we're always like, well, how can we create polarity in the feed where it's like, well, this is what you paid before, this is what you paid after. I think we mentioned offline like how that's a price driven motivator. But what we also mentioned in some of the ads was like, here's the amount of passwords and emails you have to have with all these different streaming services versus one. That's a convenience motivator. On the content side, it's like, well, with one streaming service, you have, say, back then it was Netflix or The Office on Netflix. We assume that, and we did some research on what kind of, we'd like triangulate interests. So it's like, well, if we know you like The Office, you'll probably like Community and you'll probably like
Parks and
Parks and
Rec,
Rec.
yeah.
And so like we'd pick the other two if they're on different streaming services. That might be a bad example because I think at the time Parks and Rec was on Netflix. Now it's on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
But so we just like dangle the extra services, the unique content that had alignment with like which most people liked. And that was like a selection motivator. So it's like we have price motivators, convenience motivators, and we have selection motivators on the ads.
And then what were the actual like hacks in the structure? Did you have a lot of people like speaking to the camera? Did you have like
Yeah.
green screen or like fast transitions? What worked well? What didn't work well?
Back then it was like a lot of green screen. Green screens crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so simple to produce. Like there's not lots of revisions with the creator where we're going back and forth on nitpicky things. It's like, hey, talk about how the prices of streaming services are increasing or whatever. Put your face on there and then like just CTA. Um, so that worked really well. Also, this is a bit gray hat. I don't know if this would work anymore, but like we would run ads to a certain audience, and we'd take a certain hit show like Game of Thrones, and we'd say something to the effect of like, "Who's your favorite character?" The creative would be like a picture that was a still, but because the platforms were prioritizing video at the time, we made the picture that was a still, which cost nothing to produce, a video, and made it
Mm-hmm.
like 3 seconds. And at the time, the algorithm, the videos would loop the same video. So it would look like watches.
Mm-hmm.
And in that video, we'd say, "Who's your favorite character?" Comment one, two, three, or four different characters.
Yeah.
And we just farmed the hell out of these platforms where like it would look like a super viral post, but because of that, we got super, super low CPMs where
Mm-hmm.
the platform thought it was a super engaging post, but it was actually just people like voting on which one they liked the most. I don't know why that worked, but that it was a bit creative.
Did the post where people were prompted to comment on stuff work better than just like something kind of informative or interesting? Like when you're using the
Yeah,
examples for the shows, you're not really asking them to like comment versus that one's so optimized for like say what you like the most, comment blah for
yeah.
blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll break this down because it's a bit mechanical. So, like, in the funnel of like acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, R, as it was classically called, the thesis with that endeavor was like, well, let's just get as much engagement as we can. And then we link the ad to something called ManyChat. Have you heard of ManyChat?
Mhm.
ManyChat is a Facebook Messenger bot, a WhatsApp bot. It's a messenger bot.
Mhm.
And so you can link ManyChat to an ad or a post. And when people comment on that post, it'll message them.
Mhm.
And so we see you like this. We know you love Game of Thrones. Here's Game of Thrones and three other streaming services for the price of one, whatever the copy was. And send a link to check out with our product. And that worked really well. So it's like you're taking what people used to do is set the ads to like optimize for conversion. We didn't trust that. We're like, Facebook just wants us to keep on spending money. Let's optimize for engagement, get a super low CPM, get tons of people looking at this thing. And then it's just math. So it's like the amount of people who engage with it times the open rate of the messages, or times the messages we send times the open rate. And that was our kind of success, as opposed to ads, which was, people who saw the ad, which would be lower because there's low engagement on the ad, next to a conversion rate that happens on our site. So
Mhm.
like, I'm really, really, really bullish on direct direct message offers.
Mhm.
When done right, I think they're much more effective than just ads, because like the bounce rate of ads I think is like 90, maybe 95% or something like this. And the last thing I'll say about the messaging methodologies, you can follow up. You can follow
Mhm.
up and,
Mhm.
and you can say like, well, let's do a direct response on day one, and on day nine do a flash sale where we give them a coupon. And so that's much better than, just like waiting for people to check out, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like when there's an SMS follow up or a DM follow up, you're actually getting those repeated pings. But if they don't know your email, they can't do those email follow ups. And so, like, you don't
Yeah.
have another channel. So that's really useful that ManyChat links directly to the DMs.
Yeah. The DMs are
Yeah.
very powerful. The DMs are very powerful. It doesn't matter.
So, there's also a few experiments that failed. I thought your Venmo one was really interesting. So, tell
Yeah.
us more about that.
Yeah. Well, like you have to be, I think all great founders, I'm not saying I am one, but the pattern I'd recognize is they're about like 2% off their freaking rocker. Like unhinged, like will do whatever. You have to just be a little bold and being a little, off a little bit. And at the time, many of Venmo's transactions were public.
Yeah.
Like I could look at your number because I have seen my contact list. I can go to your Venmo and like do Venmo.com/ your Venmo username, and like a ton of these transactions were public, and a good chunk of them had Hulu, Netflix, Showtime, HBO, like all the streaming services. So what we did is we scraped Venmo
Hmm.
and got everyone who paid someone else for a streaming service and these are like the angels of the internet because most people will just steal it. But like some people are like really price sensitive and want that $6
Yeah,
a month or
yeah.
whatever it is. And I think we sent them a penny or something like that. Or like we either we like sent them a penny or we commented.
Hmm.
Which now in retrospect, if we had AI agents back then, which would like work, this would work great. But back then it was just like us like fielding all these messages.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't scalable. Like didn't work that well. I'm like, guys, let's just stick to the ad. It's like when getting clever gets in the way of being, effective. We
Mm.
just thought it was like so cool because we just, they thought like do it for the bit or like do it for the story.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it is
it
like a
was
really fun hack and idea.
it was a fun idea, but like it was never going to work. But no, the framework really that is repeatable for the audience is like, well, there's some public place where the people you hang out, the people that could be your customers hang out, and there's a signal that they could be your customer. In our case,
Yeah.
they've paid someone else for a split, reduced cost streaming service. And that was a signal for us to go like, well, maybe they might want our bundle because we kind of we do that for them, where
Totally.
we're giving you like a seat in a family account for a reduced cost.
One click-through question I have is like, did Venmo even allow links, or did it have to just be the name and then they'd have to look up the name organically?
I can't remember. I think because we were just so excited, people were responding, but I'm pretty sure they didn't allow links. But
Yeah,
like
I mean,
we,
as a consumer, that's always like kind of baffles me when you have to do so much extra work to
yeah,
actually like go through, refine something,
yeah,
refine even the product on their like website and
yeah,
look for that specific one and then buy. I'm like, I'm tired, man. Like,
yeah.
I'm
That's
not
why the
gonna
app
purchase.
worked. It was just like value prop button as opposed to
Yeah.
like who is this person? Why are they commenting on my Venmo transactions? I think something I think about a lot is like how far down the funnel do you have to go? And
Hmm.
with that, it was like 3, 4 steps, maybe 5 or 6 with the sign up.
Hmm.
And with ads, there's a reason why Facebook and Google, or sorry, Meta and Google have businesses as big as they are because they really drive those conversions.
Totally. Another thing you experimented with were advertorials, but that also
Yeah,
didn't work super well. So tell us more about that. What was the
yeah.
hypothesis and like what do you think didn't work about?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to, this wasn't these weren't my ideas. This is on that the data I got from that one brand that was doing, that had those handful of channels. I'm like, what's an advertorial? And I Googled that. And then apparently Honey did really well with that. Honey,
Hmm.
like the Chrome extension. We were also in the Chrome store, so we kind of took some inspiration from like the other successful Chrome extension apps. An advertorial is it's kind of a bait and switch for attention. It's like, well, here's a big how to for Honey. It was like how to save money for free on shopping, and it's like in the content. It's pretty much a blog post. In the content, they frame the user problem. Have user experiences. It's maybe a case study, but they're more so talking about the problem. And
Hmm.
the last bit of like maybe the last paragraph or sentence or two, it's like, oh, Honey does this for you automatically. And so we took a lot of inspiration from that. And those just didn't work so well as video. I think it was more a platform shift because the
Mm.
platform didn't really care that you're advertising an article. It cared that you're advertising a video at the time. And you can think about it like we're all kind of in a haze during COVID of like video, video, video. Like reading is hard, video is easy, and it was much easier getting people to click through on a video than it was on a something they had to read and kind of educate themselves about.
Were you linking to those like blog posts on the same platforms through ads? How did people discover those? Or was it
Yeah, it was
like
just face. I
all
mean,
SEO? Yeah.
yeah, no, SEO. We didn't have time for SEO. SEO takes too long. We just created the advertorial blog post, ran some paid ads behind it and see the conversions. I now in hindsight, I think what we wish we would have did better is um I call it like a last touch attribution, where it's like, well, you saw a video, you didn't see us for like a week, you saw an advertorial, then you converted. What was working and what we knew how to do the best was direct response, where it was like ad conversion, how long did you stay from that platform? And that was a signal we followed,
Hmm.
when maybe more sophisticated marketers than I would like follow them across channels and across time.
Totally. Okay, let's talk like kind of the outcome of all of this as a whole. So, like, what would you say, looking back on all of the video marketing experiments, like how much of an impact did they make for the business? Like, what were the most transformative aspects of trying this? Of course, it's just straight up a way to acquire customers, but like, what was
Yeah.
yeah? What do you think about video?
Like, getting ads to work is, it's just, I mean, the platforms are like cracked. They're like, okay, well, great. You spend $15, you get $60. And then over time, they call it like ROAS decay, like return on ad spend decay. Like, they get you hooked. Oh my God, this is working. And then over time, they just like barely eke it out for you.
And the margins get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer
And margins
from
get
the
slimmer and
like,
slimmer and
yeah,
slimmer.
cost per click.
And
Yeah.
you're kind of like, and if you run ads, you know that if you turn off the ads, you might have to start fresh.
Mm,
So it's like it's like getting more claustrophobic with the spend, because if you stop spending, you're gonna have to like spin up a new ad and like build that campaign again. And I was always scared to scale fast. Like, I never went to like $20 a day to like $2,000 a day.
mm-hmm.
I always just felt more comfortable where it was, because we were a startup, like 20, 25, 40, 50, like over like many weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that again. And so like I ran into a few founders when I was angel investing who were like, we scaled those 0 to 1 million in 3 months or 2 months or whatever it was. And I'm like, where the customers coming from? And I'm like,
Mm,
oh, it's all ads. And where I get scared is like, well, I don't think that this is going to decay in like 2-3 months.
yeah.
And
It
so it's
sounds
kind of like,
great, but what happens month 3 through 6? Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like faking it,
Yeah.
It's like the 5'11" to 6 foot of growth. You're not really 6 foot. You're 5'11". A real 6 foot would be like people love your product. They're telling other people about it. Like the press is picking up without you pushing it. The market's pulling it. We're definitely pushing it. And I don't think I'd ever be in that. I would ever be in that position again. It was a
Mhm.
really valuable lesson, but like really struck my ego, because like this is my second 7-figure business now. And I'm like, well, you know, I got hooked on the crack a little bit. Like the ads machine was working, and it's just not sustainable. It's just not
Mm.
like there was no pull. It was all push.
And yeah, so let's talk about what you've learned from this for your current
Yeah.
startup. So it's been a few years.
Yeah.
There's been changes in the platforms and what works. You're still selling to like consumers ultimately, but it's a super different
Yeah.
product. So would you do video again? Would you not?
Yeah. So I'll frame this a little bit. So now I'm in consumer energy.
Mhm.
Company's called Modern Electric. What we do is we become your electricity provider. And the way we do that is we only serve people with solar. And people with solar, we get them onto a flat plan that's $99 a month for all the energy needs. Contrast to what they do now, which is they usually have some kind of solar payment and like a fluctuating or rising energy bill.
Mhm.
The moniker, which you wouldn't be surprised about, is the Netflix of energy. How Netflix took us from variable costs of rentals and late fees to just a flat entertainment cost a month. We're trying to do that with energy. And, would I use these platforms again? I would. You'd be surprised, of the 4 million people in America who have solar on their homes, about 80 to 90% of those customers were acquired through door-to-door salespeople. These are
Mm.
people, who go door to door and use usually aggressive sales tactics, and in the worst versions, they like approach old people who may not be all there. And in the
Mm.
best cases, you're still like getting the best price. And I have a lot of respect for this community of people who do this profession, but I just don't think it's the best delivery method to get to scale nationwide. But it had a good run. And so currently we are rolling up several failed solar companies into a new one. And yeah, it's been an interesting challenge, but like a lot of the skills that I learned from my previous tour are applicable in like probably the next 6 months, 6 to
Mhm.
12 months. But just to frame it a little bit, we're competing with door-to-door salespeople
Mhm.
who, and in terms of leverage, you have on the bottom layer is sales, on the next layer up is marketing, and the highest layer is actually product.
Mhm.
But currently there's this disjointed where like the product is really good, solar and batteries are really good, but it's currently being delivered at this bottom level, which is sales. And because of that, I think we can win. It's like this vicious cycle in a negative way, where it's like these organizations in their classic forms, we're not attracting the best and brightest marketers, the best and brightest technology people. They're mostly like sales orgs or financing companies. And with everything that I've learned in startups over like a decade plus, we get to take some of those ideals and bring it here. And because of that, I think we'll do a good job. I guess we'll see.
So are you experimenting with or going to launch more digital ads, which is like such a contrast from the
Yeah.
other sales techniques? Like, would you do video again? Would you do static ads? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. So we actually going back to we're competing with door sales orgs. They usually don't understand organic or paid. But going back to the mindset of nail it before scale it. Nailing it for us for the first year entails creating the best customer reputation. The average NPS in our space is 9, and on the high end, 29, and that's out of 100. And so I feel like the 7-foot guy walking into a room of like maybe 5-foot guys. And because of that, we get to innovate on how we get customers. And to that end, we actually got KWH, which is kilowatt hours, which is how all Americans are charged for energy on Instagram. And we'll do a bunch of organic content there. But the first like 12 months is going to all be about nailing it and creating a good customer relationship so that when we run the ads, they can look at other places online where people have talked about us to validate the purchase.
Mm-hmm.
If you run it raw, if like you go out the gate without ads, what's going to happen is your CAC will go up because people will wait longer to convert.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have, even 20 really good reviews, even 20 still shows up as 5 stars in the mind when you're
Mm-hmm.
scrolling past ads, you're more likely to see conversions.
Totally makes sense. It's like you click through, you Google that name, you like use
Yeah,
ChatGPT. It doesn't come up. No one's heard of it. There's like just the website, nothing else, no reviews. You're like,
yeah,
I don't even trust that this is real. Yeah, totally
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Okay, my final question, which I like to ask about taste, because we talked through so many tactics and kind of
yeah,
going to the title of the show. When is a time that your personal taste went against like prevailing wisdom or a lot of the data that you were seeing, and how'd
yeah.
you decide to trust that gut instinct?
So I started in this industry because I keep these long friendships, like many, many years. I just like who I like and I like to see people grow. And I was in Miami and I caught up with a friend who he saw my Instagram story. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm in Miami now. Let's catch up." We played middle school basketball
Nice.
and just a good guy. And I hadn't seen him. So we went to the Masters, I think 2 years prior in LA, and just a good guy, good heart. It, I know his family. He pulled up in a really nice car. I'm like, I know you don't come from money. Like, what happened in the last few years? And he's like, I'm selling solar. I'm like, what does that mean? And in the solar game, most of the money goes to the salespeople
Mm,
who originate the loan, like the lease. I had seen The Big Short a few weeks prior. I kind of had a Steve Carell moment where I'm like, that's no way out. That's how that works. But no, I ditched my ego and I did door-to-door sales in West Texas for a few months. I had a gun pulled on me and I like to
oh
use
my God.
humor. And I go, that is so shiny. like, and, and the guy started busting out laughing. And after we got to talking, I go, why was that the reaction? He goes, well, you're like the ninth guy to come around in a few months.
Mm,
And so in terms of the customer journey, I thought, man, there's really something here. And I love the problem, but I hate the solution or the way it's delivered right now. I think I could do a good job here. As I got deep in the rabbit hole, low NPS, high fragmentation, you know, I guess on the lower end of sophistication, which is fine. And I just thought we can clean this up a little more. But the reason I tell that story is because, from the startup world, I do appreciate CEOs like the CEO of Lyft or the CEO of Airbnb who like get their hands dirty. Like Brian Chesky would stay in Airbnbs and he would host people in his home to see the highest fidelity of signal from the
hmm.
customer. And the reason I decided to do door-to-door sales and to see the status quo is to see these customers, to see the sales orgs, to see the financiers, And that taught me like more than I probably ever could have learned online, like on the internet through people. So where the taste came in was all my friends, they want to do early stage startups where you create a product that's usually software. You get 500,000 to 3.5 million, maybe like 8 million bucks. And then your job is to make that thing worth 1 billion.
Totally.
Our space is a little different where the capital we're using will be PE backed. And so it's not the same communication style at all from VC. VC is like vision and charisma and mission. I'm like I'm like now on this other side of it where I don't talk like that anymore
Mm-hmm.
to my stakeholders. And so where that was hard was like, well, all my friends are starting startups. We're kind of a startup, but kind of not really. This is more like they call it special situations or just a different category of capital. And where that was difficult is like there's only one friend who's also crossing this bridge too, and he's like the only person I can talk to about this because everyone else is like build something people love, like all the platitudes and startup, build something people love, like listen to your talk to customers. I'm like we're trying to raise $120 million. That's and the reason we're there now is because the feedback from before was this is on the smaller end of what we're usually doing, which is
Mm-hmm.
like when you hear about venture funds, they're like 120 million, 200 million, whatever. I'm like, this really expanded my mindset. And I'm just like, this for me now is a very clear, my taste has changed from, you know, startup mindset to like actual cash flows, real businesses, understanding debt, understanding asset-backed securities. And now it's completely different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome journey. So, yeah, thank you so much, Chino, for being here. Learned so
Yeah.
much from this. Love the fact that you got to dive into all of those specifics of like what worked, what didn't work, and hopefully we can take a lot of lessons for anyone who's experimenting with video or ads in general.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a fun conversation, and I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to that episode with Chino Lex. Had a great time learning so much from him about ad optimization. I thought it was really interesting. I've never dived into the world of video ads myself, and so I really love getting this like all these new techniques and ideas. A couple of my favorite takeaways. I really liked his perspective on price driven products where you really want polarization to catch people's eye. Like his iPhone release example was really cool, like showing the more expensive number and then just kind of crossing it out and making people feel like it's a steal. When if you lead with 500, it might feel like a lot in the era of Motorola and Nokia. But with Keyring, this is a very price driven product because you're selling bundles that are cheaper than what people are otherwise paying for by subscribing to different services individually. So $10 versus 1,000 is always going to be more compelling than $10 versus $20. And so trying to like finagle it for this product was really interesting. The other thing that I loved was like he leaned into the fact that kind of crazy stunts like the Venmo experiment, they might not always work, but they're still worth doing. Your audience probably gathers online somewhere publicly to talk about the problem that your product is solving and find where they are and then like try all these different ways to get in front of them or make them aware of your product. Even if some of them flop, some of them will probably hit. And then the last thing, which I think is like always crucial for especially anything related to social media or advertising, is just getting in tons of reps, like making 20 to 30 videos a month, all different types of creative, building some things with influencers, some things organic, some things white labeled from those influencers, trying like looping short videos. Love just hearing all these different categories that they tried because they weren't like, okay, here's 3 formats we can think of. It was really about like, what's everything we could possibly do? And then let's double down on what's working. Thanks again to Chino for joining. Hope you learned a lot too.
Taste and Tactics is available on every major podcast platform and at Taste and Tactics on LinkedIn, X, TikTok, and Instagram. Thank you to our producer, Simran Honda. See you next week.